Hey, good afternoon. This is Jeffrey. I am pretty excited to be here with you guys on a Monday afternoon when we're recording this live, as I get to share some information that could be pretty impactful for many of you guys, and I think it's important for a lot more students than potentially realize. And so what we're going to be talking about over the next little bit today, and whether or not you're watching this live or recording of this at a later point, is this idea of something with multiple names. And so you'll hear people say, and I'll probably even say it in our today's session, two-year college, junior college, community college. All of those things are the same thing, right? And so that's an important thing just to realize that all of those items that we're talking about today all kind of go in the same place. Something that we're going to look at, though, is the different types of paths that many of these programs offer. And so in just a minute, I'm going to show a video that kind of highlights the bigger picture and talks a little bit about our local junior college, Sierra College. But to kind of frame our conversation and our talk today, just a couple things to keep in mind. Number one is we're looking at this from a big global scale, meaning it's something that we have to really pay close attention to in the sense that every student's going to be unique and every student's going to be different. Right? So that means that we have to kind of really take each individual path as their own unique path, right? So student A and student B are not going to have the same trajectory, the same needs, the same wants, and the same paths to whatever post-college career path they're looking for. And so what that means is that it's hard to be super specific in a session like this, but that's really kind of something that we have to kind of work towards. So today, a couple things that I'm hoping that you'll leave with is that number one is that junior college should be a consideration for all students in high school. All right, so this is something that all students should consider a junior college as a potential path, and there's a number of reasons which we'll cover today for why that would be. Number two is that there are a ton of options available. All right, so a ton of paths through the system. I'll show you a map, but just a kind of a spoiler alert. There's 115 junior colleges now in just the state of California. All right, so 115. They just recently launched the 115th, which is a purely online, a fully online junior college path. All right, and so it's just something that there are a lot of opportunities for students. The third thing is that it really does create a lot of opportunities for students in the financial sense as well. All right, we'll talk about some of the different financial programs that the junior college system creates for the students that choose to attend that program, and why it might make a difference for some families or another, and how to make the best of that path. We'll also talk a little bit about some potential pitfalls. I'll show you around a couple of websites in terms of how we use the different websites to do some investigating. I'm only going to pick two popular ones among our students. You can probably, in just a minute, you'll see it on our screen, but we'll kind of putz around their websites a little bit. I'll show you some key areas that you might want to do some investigating in. We'll talk a little bit about timelines and kind of process and that kind of stuff a little bit closer to the end. All right, so I do want to thank you for joining me today. I think it's really important that you do, and if you're watching this later, if you have questions, feel free to type them into the chat box. I'll be watching those things and making sure that I can get back to you. I have kind of like several different things going on over here, so I'm kind of paying attention to both the Facebook and YouTube chats in case there's someone that has a live question that I can answer. If you have questions following it, you can either comment on it, and I usually get notified, or we can set up another meeting. Just a reminder that we do have our post-secondary planning meetings that happen. And there's never too late of a time necessarily to ask a question, hopefully. So as we get going, I actually want to start with this video, and I'm crossing my fingers I have it set up right that you can hear it. But I want to start with this video. It's a few minutes long, so I'm just going to kind of mute my own mic, and we'll watch this video together. But it's by a gentleman named Christopher Old. And Christopher Old works at Sierra College in Truckee. So Sierra College is our probably there's two local junior colleges to us. Lake Tahoe Community College, which is in South Lake, which is technically probably kind of the closest main campus. And then we have Sierra College, which actually they have several different campuses. The main one is down in Rockland, kind of outside of Sacramento, but they have one in Nevada City, but they also have one in Truckee. And he'll talk a little bit specifically about some of the Truckee programs, but about junior college as well, kind of across the board. And for the rest of our time together, like I said, I'm going to highlight two particular websites, but in general, we're going to be speaking about the junior college process across the board, no matter if you wanted to go to any of the 115 campuses. All right, just know that each is going to have kind of their own unique flavors and their own unique kind of different approaches to learning, just like any college campus would. All right, so let me get that queued up here, and we'll go ahead and get started. So hopefully this all works. I'm going to mute my mic and then keep the audio running for you. So give me just a second.
Hello and welcome to the Tahoe Truckee campus video. In this video, you'll learn some general information about Sierra College and why it's a great place to start your college career. You'll also learn specific information about the Tahoe Truckee campus and what makes it such a special place. So let's get started. Hello everyone, I'm Christopher Old and I'm the counselor at the Tahoe Truckee campus of Sierra College. And I wanted to just stop in to tell you a little bit about Sierra College and some of the opportunities that we have there for you. So let me begin with why would you come to a community college? One of the reasons that you may want to come to Sierra College is because there's a variety of different goals you can reach by coming to Sierra College. So some students come to us because they want to earn a skills certificate, so they just want to take a few classes in a particular area in order to get skills in that area that they can then use to get a job. Other students come to us because they want to get an associate's degree, which is a 2-year college degree that you can get by being a full-time student for 2 years. There are a lot of jobs out there that you can get having that associate's degree. And then other students come to us because they want to start at Sierra College and begin at the community college level and then transfer on to a 4-year school in order to get their bachelor's degree. We have a variety of programs that can really help with that transfer. We have an associate's degree for transfer, which is an agreement between the California community colleges and the California state universities. And with that degree, you can get guaranteed acceptance to the CSU system. We also have something called the TAG program, which is the Transfer Admission Guarantee, and that program is with the UC system. And with that program, you can set up guaranteed admissions to 6 of the different UCs. So those are great programs. A lot of students will start at a community college and then transfer in, and they actually find it much easier to get into the school of their choice when they're coming in as a transfer student. About 2 out of every 3 students that apply to the UCs, for example, will get into the school of their choice if they're coming through the transfer pathway. And it's a much more common pathway than most people think. Other reasons to go to community college. One other reason is that community colleges have great instructors, and our instructors have a lot of hands-on knowledge. And so I really encourage you to take a class with us and see how high quality the instructors are. For example, the instructor in this picture is our business instructor, and he's holding up the textbook for one of his classes, which is a textbook that he wrote and is being used all around the country. So you can get really high quality instruction. Another nice thing about community colleges is classes tend to be much smaller at community colleges than they are at a large university. So for example, if you were to take an Introduction to Psychology class at Sierra College here on the Truckee campus, you would probably have about 15 students in that class with you. Whereas that same class at somewhere like UC Davis or UNR, you'd probably be in a lecture hall with about 400 students. So if you like small class sizes and working in small groups and getting that individual attention, community college can be a great way to go. Another reason students come to community college is financial. The reality is that college can be expensive. Community college is much less expensive. You can see in this chart the cost of going to a CSU versus the cost of going to a UC versus the cost of going to a private school. And then you'll see the cost of Sierra College down there at the bottom, which is much, much less. On average, students can save about $15,000 by starting at a community college. And that has gotten even better recently. We now have at Sierra College our first 2 years free program. And in that program, if you can be a full-time student taking at least 4 classes a semester, then your tuition is absolutely free. And this is regardless of your family's financial situation. So it's not income dependent at all. All you need to do is come and be that full-time student and you will get free tuition. So it's a pretty good deal. Also want to make sure you all know about the Academic Enrichment Program, also known as the Ferrari Program. And this is where students that are high school students here in the Truckee, Tahoe area can take classes at Sierra College for free while you're in high school. and you'll get dual credit. So those classes will count toward your high school graduation, and they also give you college credit. And that's a great way to get a head start on college, so that when you show up at whatever school you decide to go to, you already have some college credits there that'll give you a nice base to start with and more flexibility later on. It's also a nice way to see what a college class would be like. So I really encourage you, when you're thinking about your classes for the spring semester, talk to your counselor there at the high school and decide what college classes might be good classes to take, and then come on and take a class with us and see how it goes. I'd like to take a few minutes to talk specifically about the Tahoe Truckee campus. The Tahoe Truckee campus is a hidden gem in the mountains. Our small but mighty campus is on a beautiful setting in the forest, close to downtown Truckee, and only a short drive to Lake Tahoe. Being located in the amazing natural environment of the mountains really sets our campus apart. Those of you who live here know this already, but for those that don't, this area has every outdoor activity you can imagine right at your fingertips. One aspect of mountain life is our snow. We get plenty of snow up here. If you like to ski or snowboard, you will love it up here. The majority of our classes on the Tahoe Truckee campus are in the evening. That way you can work or play in the mountains during the day and then take your classes at night. Although the geography here in this area is amazing, what really makes the Tahoe Truckee campus special is our people. The Tahoe Truckee campus of Sierra College is very community-oriented. Students say they like the small community feel on our campus, where they feel at home. Our professors are experts in their field and truly care about the students. But in addition, they also live and work here in the local community. This means they understand mountain life and they have great contacts throughout the Tahoe Truckee area. They're here to help you succeed both in your classes, but also in life after class. One key difference between our campus and the other campuses of Sierra College is our size. The small size of our campus makes it easy to get personal attention. It also leads us to have smaller class sizes, and our classes are often easier to get into than some of the classes on the larger campuses. Although we have that small school feel, we also have the large school resources. Being part of Sierra College allows access to all the resources of the bigger campus, even if you're taking your classes here on the Truckee campus. Our beautiful location, our amazing people, and our small size really make the Tahoe Truckee campus of Sierra College a special place to be. I hope you'll come and join us here. As I mentioned, I'm Christopher Old, and I'm here to help in any way that I can. So if you have any questions at all, please let us know. You can call the front desk at 530-550-2225, and they'd be able to schedule an appointment so you can meet with me and I can answer questions that way. Also, you can send me an email to cold@sierracollege.edu. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you at Sierra College sometime soon.
So I'm heading back. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to fix this echo that I heard. So let me, I believe that should do it. As I go through, I'll have to adjust a few things. But as you heard, Christopher Ohl is a great resource. So Christopher works at Truckee, at the Truckee campus in Sierra College. We work very closely with them at the district and in our school, and so we send a lot of our students over there to take those dual enrichment classes that he mentioned. But I did want to just highlight how helpful of a resource he really is, and so everybody over at the Tahoe Truckee campus. And so, like he mentioned, the Truckee campus is fairly small, 500-600 students or so generally, so about a little bit bigger than our high school, maybe the size of Truckee High School. So college-wise, it's fairly small, and that comes with some pros and potential cons depending on you as a student. But in the world of junior college, like I said, there are a ton of different opportunities available to you. And so I did want to just remind you that on the 115 different campuses that you will look at, you can get schools of any size. There are tons of different size schools that you can go from, the 600 person campus to 10 and 20,000 person campuses. So there are tons of different opportunities, just like any other four-year college too. Lots of small colleges, medium-sized colleges, and large-sized colleges. So let me just test this really quickly. I'm gonna make sure my audio is working here for us. So give me just a second. All right, so I think that's working. Let me just fix my other settings here for us. Sorry, you're going to see me bounce around for just a second, but I don't want to have you suffer through this echo. So let me hop over. I want to show you a pretty quick glance at what the community college system looks like across the country or across the state of California. And the vast majority of students that are looking at junior college do stick and go to college in the state of California for a number of different reasons, but the primary one is the significant difference in the cost that staying in state has. So attending a junior college outside of California usually does not make a ton of sense. The cost is significantly higher, and you can save a ton of money by going this path. So with the stuff that you see on the screen here, on the far left, what you're looking at, the kind of grayish blue state, those are all the different CSU campuses that you'll see. All right. So there are 23 different CSUs, California State University. The middle yellow one are all the UC campuses, the University of California. All right. And so that's something that you can see the differences. There are 9 UC campuses that you can actually attend. The far right one is probably what used to be the 114, but is now 115 California Community College campuses. So CCC is a common abbreviation that you might see there. On this map here, this actually shows you a breakdown, and every one of those little dots, I know it's probably hard to see on your screen, but every one of those little dots is a junior college. All right. The whole design of the junior college system is to create basically that's the name community college, a college that serves the local community around it. You do see people that will leave and travel and move to another area of the state or another city. People that graduate from North Tahoe might move to Santa Barbara or San Diego or LA or San Francisco or Northern California, wherever, to attend a junior college. But the vast majority of students actually attend school close to where they grew up. Okay, and when we talk about the costs a little bit later, there's some pretty big cost benefit of doing that. But just so you know, you can probably drive, unless you get kind of out somewhat in the middle of nowhere, kind of up in certain counties in Northern California or Eastern Sierras or things like that. Generally speaking, in many places in California, around somewhat even populated areas, you can drive probably no more than a half hour, 40 minutes in any direction and have a community college campus. All right. And as you can see, in more urban areas, you're going to have a good number. You look at the Bay Area, and there's a whole list of junior colleges, in kind of LA County area has a whole pull out towards the bottom left of that screen. So there are a ton of opportunities. And like I said, every school does bring kind of its own flavor into the mix. And so when we're looking at the different opportunities, I'm going to highlight 2. And so on the screen, what you can see is, right now I'm on Sierra College's website. The other thing that we're going to be looking at is Santa Barbara City College. And we'll use these, and I'll bounce back and forth between a couple of these to show you how to use and how to use some of these websites and what are some of the things that we're going to be looking for as we're doing our research before we even get into the application process. So why do we want to go to a junior college? One of the reasons is, like Christopher said, there are several different paths. All right. So if I go to Santa Barbara City College's website, and you kind of, most menus, and some websites are better than others. I really like their website and how it's set up. It's pretty useful, and I think it makes sense. You kind of typically start over here on this left-hand side and work your way across as you go through the process. So kind of in this first section, it's broken down. This is more about research, okay, understanding what programs they have. Then it goes into application and enrollment. Then it goes to how do we fund it. Then it goes to how do we move in and how do we get support while we're there. All right, so that's kind of their menu structure, and it's kind of nice the way that's set up. So even if you're not planning on going to SBCC, it sometimes provides a nice kind of flow, and most of the processes at most junior colleges are pretty similar. So one of the best things that we can do is we can just take a look at all the different degrees and certificates. And I wanted to kind of highlight this here before we kind of dive into some other areas, is highlighting these different credit programs, all right? And there are actually a lot. I mentioned the different pathways that people can take through junior college. And a lot of that's dependent on what your goal is, how much you like school, how much you want out of school, how much time and energy you want to put in, and what are some of the outcomes that you'd like to see, all right? So usually I'm going to actually start at the bottom. So I've scrolled most of the way down on the screen. And what you can see is they have some non-credit programs. This is going to be programs that like you might just be taking for fun, underwater basket weaving 101 or something like that, that maybe you want to learn a new skill, but generally speaking, you're not earning college credit for it. I would say for most high school students, this is less common. Another benefit of junior college is you get a lot more diversity in terms of the students who are attending. Okay, whereas in many university settings, you have a good number of undergraduate students, which are mostly kind of similar to you as the student, maybe 18 to 25-year-old students. At a junior college, you're going to have a good number of those students being that same age range, maybe not quite as old, but you'll have people that also go back and you can go further on in life. So you'll have people coming back for returning to school. You'll have older people that are returning and wanting to engage in different types of learning to engage their mind and learn about topics and things like that. I actually took some junior college classes down in Cuesta College, and I really enjoyed them. From taking classes, I'm wearing my Cal Poly shirt, taking classes at Cal Poly, and then taking some classes at Cuesta. To be honest, I love my Cuesta classes probably more than I liked my Cal Poly classes. Partly because of the different things I took, but also because of the diversity of the types of people that I was in class with. In college, it can sometimes be an echo chamber of the same mindset and same thoughts, and having people of different generations and different backgrounds and that kind of stuff really provided an enriching experience that challenged our line of thought. It gave us different outlooks. People that are not just experienced in one specific time frame bring a lot of flavor and richness to the conversation. Okay, but then kind of working your way up, you can kind of read through a couple of things. The main three that I'm going to highlight are up here at the top. So a certificate of achievement. So basically that's going to be almost about between a semester and a year typically. So this says about 18 units plus. So each class is about 3 to 4 units typically at a junior college. It would basically be something that you can take into a different industry. So maybe you needed a certificate to show that maybe you did a basic first aid and EMT type of program, or a welding certificate, or things like that. And so what this does is it really pares down a lot of the stuff to the essential skills. All right, and you're going to be going out and you're going to do it's almost kind of like a trade school program where you're going to be taking these particular skills, moving on and going out and getting a job that requires more than just a high school diploma to be paid well and have that job employability. All right, so you leave with a certificate of achievement. And you'll see that called slightly different things, kind of like in many different colleges, but the certificate or certificate program, things like that are all pretty common words that you'd be using. The next one up, this associate's degree. So associate's degree of arts, that's what an AA stands for, or an AS. And you'll see that kind of commonly through other places. You'll see AA-T, AS-T, BS, MS, MA, all kinds of different acronyms. But usually the first letter is kind of the level of the degree. Associates, BA would be bachelor's, MA would be master's. Okay, PhDs when it kind of throws the loop. But the second letter is typically the discipline that's in. So AA would be an Associates of Arts, and AS would be an Associates of Science. And so generally speaking, that kind of changes in terms of what type of discipline you're studying and how you're actually going through that degree. All right. The associate's degree is what's called a terminal degree, meaning that you're going to finish the program at that school, and generally speaking, you're going to move on to whatever's next in your life. All right, so an associate's degree is generally something that if you need some additional skills, if you need some additional courses, that degree is typically designed to be completed in 2 years, but it's generally about 60 or so units, all right? And then you finish and you graduate and you go out and get a job, all right? So not every job needs a bachelor's degree. Many jobs don't actually, All right, so you might need an associate's degree to get the training that you might need. Maybe you want to go to Sierra College and study mechatronics and go work on in a ski lift program, develop or an assembly line production program or things like that, where you can actually work on the small electronics. You don't necessarily need a bachelor's degree. You don't need to be the engineer. You need to know how they function to be able to work the hands-on job that you're going to be doing. That's what an associate's degree is. So that's basically you complete this degree, you graduate, and go on and work. Kind of this topmost is kind of this diamond in the rough situation for a lot of students. All right, so it's an associate's degree, so you actually earn an associate's degree, but that for transfer, this -T is kind of where the magic happens. So if you are interested or working towards a career path that you do need a bachelor's degree for, this associate's degree program allows you to basically do roughly your first 2 years at a junior college and then transfer the stuff that you've already done to generally a CSU or a UC. Some private schools can also take transfer students as well, but it's something that you can actually hop on and really do a lot of the work that you'd be doing over 4 or 5 years at a CSU or a UC. You can do that half at a junior college and half at a for the rest of the 2 years at a 4-year university. I think one common misconception about this is that it takes 6 years, and that's not true. All right, so you will do, where a bachelor's degree is generally about 4 to 5 years, depending on the program and school. You'll do that whole time at that particular institution. In that program, you're going to do something called general education. You're going to be taking classes that really have to have certain things, kind of like in high school where you're taking your A through G requirements to then apply. They have very specific requirements to transfer as well. It's kind of like A through G for college, and they call them some different things. You probably mentioned like the TAG or the IGETC or different acronyms. And it's not something you necessarily have to know or memorize and spout out that acronym, but it's just something to know that there are some requirements. And then you would complete kind of the last half of your bachelor's degree at the institution that you go transfer to. So this is great for a number of different reasons. One of the reasons is, like Christopher said, and I'm pulling up the UC admissions database here, and it's looking at transfer admissions database. All right, and so what we can see is if we look at some of these different programs, a lot of times students there's a couple reasons where this transfer program could benefit students, even beyond just the financial elements and some of that stressful elements of like applying and that kind of stuff. But one of the big ones is there is state law. So the legislator in California, the state governing body, said, we think students need to have the opportunity to go to junior college and transfer into some of our state-funded institutions. And so what they said is for every freshman student that we admit at the different levels, we have to admit a certain number of transfer students. And that plays in most transfer students' benefit. All right. So if we look at some of the admissions rate, if we looked at Irvine, for example. All right. So we look at the transfer rate. So let's take freshmen. So 107,000 students applied to Irvine, and this is fall of 2021, so pretty recent data. They admitted 31,000 students. All right. Not all of those actually showed up, but 29% of those students that applied got in. All right. So about almost a third. All right. Transfer students had almost 10% better results. Okay. So there's a pretty big difference. Let's take a look at like Berkeley and see what happens there. Okay. If we're looking at, let me go back to just the transfer data. Give me a sec to bounce back here. Let's go to Berkeley. So Berkeley had 22,000 transfer students with 22% admissions rate and a 14.5% for first-time freshmen. All right, if we go back and let's take a look at like Santa Barbara. A lot of times people like to go to Santa Barbara. Okay, they had a 49% admissions rate where most freshmen had almost less than 30. Okay, so that's almost a 20% difference in admissions rates. Okay, and some of that has to do with that law. Some of that has to do with the competition levels. So you're seeing 105,000 freshmen to UCSB and only 20,000 transfer students. So you can be a bigger fish in a smaller pond through this path. All right, so sometimes if you're thinking like, I really would like to see myself at some of these campuses, I'm not maybe the most competitive applicant though. This is where this also comes into play. To be admitted to a junior college, your major requirement is that you graduate from high school and learn how to learn. Okay, that's part of the benefit. There is no application process of like competitive application like you think of in four-year college. It takes that pressure off of you. Okay, you get the opportunity to shine without the stress of having to be judged. All right. Your job is to do the research and find out which school makes the most sense for me out of those 115 different opportunities. Choose one. Make sure you've done your research. Make sure you do some information searching, which I'll show you a few key areas on their websites here. Okay. And go and do well. Okay. Apart from kind of this boost in admission, some of the other benefits that you'll find, like I said, we'll talk a little about finances. There's usually, I never like to use absolutes. There's usually a financial advantage in a lot of ways going to a junior college. You heard Christopher talk about the 2 years free program, the Promise program, and we'll mention that, and I'll show you where to look up that information. But the other thing is going to be for students, maybe you didn't have a great high school experience. Maybe you kind of screwed it up in ninth grade. Maybe you just didn't do as well as you had hoped, or maybe you kind of, the light clicked on a little bit later in high school, and then you kind of really started grinding, and but maybe your GPA took a hit from kind of maybe some bad choices or things like that, whatever it might be. Okay. Like you can see on here, you might not get into a Berkeley or Santa Barbara or any of the UCs with maybe your high school degree or your high school transcript. Okay. The nice thing about going through a transfer program is also that you get a fresh start. You get a clean slate. You get an opportunity to start over. Okay. All the stuff that you've learned in high school is still valuable, and the skills that you've learned are going to be extra important as you transition into a junior college. But when you're going through this transfer program, they're not going back and looking at your high school experience. They want to know that you graduated, but you get to start over, and you get to use your college grades, your college experience, to then set the tone for your transfer applications. All right. So, an example could be maybe you didn't have a great experience. Maybe you got mostly A's and B's as a junior and senior. Sophomore year passed and you figured it out all of a sudden. Okay. But 9th and 10th grade, you kind of screwed around, didn't really do what you hoped to do. All right. Maybe you ended up with like a 2.7 GPA. Probably not getting into most of the four-year universities maybe you're thinking about applying to with that GPA. Not the end of the world. Okay. You can go to junior college. You can go down to Sierra College, like Tahoe Community College, wherever. You can work your butt off. You can get straight A's, get a 4.0, and go to any UC, any CSU that you potentially might want to, all right, with whatever college GPA you have. I will warn you, college is harder than high school, okay? So don't just expect to kind of just show up every day and get a 4.0. It takes a lot of work, a lot of self-discipline, but it is you can open up many doors that may have already shut for this four-year college first-time freshman applicant, okay? So that's a very important thing to realize. So let me talk a little about time frames. All right. So a couple different things before we kind of look through some of the websites to give you some tips on finding information. Some of the time frames, and this is also good news, especially if you're a procrastinator. Some of the time frames that you need to be aware of are pretty different in the world of junior college. Okay. Like I said, you're not applying to 7 or 8 different junior colleges like you might need to do for competitive admissions at a 4-year college. All right. You are picking one. So your job, the research phase, is actually probably the most important phase of this process, all right, where you are not going through and researching, applying, and then having to do some more research to figure out and then decide from where you get into. You're doing all that in advance. You're deciding where I'm going, and then you go through the enrollment process. All right, so you're going to want to check out a couple things. Number one is kind of like understanding a little bit about what you want. Like I said, you can stay home, and that has a lot of financial benefits, but if you're not wanting to go to, say, a 600-person campus, you might start there. Maybe you take a couple classes or a semester or a year there, and then maybe you move down to Rockland in, outside Sacramento for the second half. And sometimes you have to do that depending on the program. But you do get to choose. And so understanding what you want out of your college experience. What are the things that are valuable to you? What are the things that make the most sense to you as a student? What kind of experiences and opportunities do you want to have? Do you want to stay home? Do you want to get out of Tahoe? Do you want to move somewhere different? Okay, just knowing there are some trade-offs in that process. Okay, so that research process is happening now for many students, but you do have a little bit longer where a lot of the 4-year applications are kind of coming due at the end of November. You're probably not going to be rolling on kind of the active phase of enrolling at a junior college usually until about early spring, late winter. Okay, right around when our first semester ends is when most students start typically actively making stuff happen on their junior college applications. Okay, they're researching and kind of making some plans. Usually, like I said, around January, February, most students start doing the application. All right, so like you can click up here at Sierra College. If we go back to the homepage of Santa Barbara City College, you can find the application underneath here. So they do a pretty good job. I'll show you that in a second. Actually, I'll show you that now, because they do a pretty good job breaking it down. I'll show you where you can find it on Sierra College too. But the application, you can click up there, and most applications for junior college are kind of twofold, just so you know. All right, and I'm happy to help. Please ask questions if you get stuck on this, want some help. Most junior college applications are twofold. One, in that you will be filling out what's called the Open CCC Apply. Okay, that's kind of like getting you set up, and that's a system that if you are looking at Santa Barbara City College and then you transfer, you'll be using the Open CCC Apply to potentially enroll at any other junior college you might attend to. Most of the time you won't be doing that, but usually you'll fill that out, and then there will be some secondary steps that you'll do to fill out the kind of a second part specific for SBCC or Sierra College, okay, to kind of continue with that. So don't get hung up on kind of that initial process and forget to finish. But basically, if you kind of scroll down here on SBCC's website, and you'll find this, you can actually find this on admissions here. So if you kind of go, let's see, if you go down here, it's kind of hidden on Sierra College's website. I don't love this background. It kind of hides these red dots, okay? But if you actually click on the one, so like you're not going to be going to high school during college, you're not a returning student, you're going to be a new college student. If you click on that for Sierra College, it's going to lay out the steps very similar that you'll see up here. All right, so the first things first is you can click on here and go and actually go through the application, that Open CCC Apply. The second one is actually going through and doing the financial aid application. It says optional. I would highly encourage this, and there's a couple of reasons why. Number one is it will help qualify you for that the Promise program, the 2 years free tuition program. Okay, that's several $1,000s a year, and so that's something that you should definitely be doing. And you can do, you know, if you want to learn more about the financial aid process, you can go back and watch. We do a yearly financial aid workshop where I've posted here to YouTube as well. So it kind of covers that. So there's a website that's has resources here. The next one, so you kind of go through those processes. Usually after you apply, you'll get a notification like, hey, thanks for applying. Here's some information that you need to know. Each college will have kind of something they call it different. SBCC calls it the pipeline account. Sierra College calls it the My Sierra account. Okay, and so that's kind of like your Aries for college, if you think of it like that. You do a lot more stuff in there though. So like you'll submit your financial aid forms. You might pay fees. You might you're gonna definitely sign up for classes. You'll get transcripts. You'll do a whole bunch of stuff, and it's kind of like your portal. All right. So this is something where once you've kind of gotten the okay, you'll create your account. This also usually links you to an email account for your college. This is an important thing. Most of the time, they're not going to be communicating with you through your personal email once you've actually set up the account. They're going to email your Sierra College account or your SBCC account. All right, so you need to be checking some of those things. Most campuses will actually have an online orientation that you must go through. This is actually very useful. It talks about some of their different programs they have on campus, how the classes work, excuse me, some of the different things that you might need to do to help you navigate a brand new, often scary system. So pay close attention to this, please. I'm going to hit my kind of number one thing that really can kind of throw a wrench in junior college plans, and that's not having a plan. All right. So unlike in high school where we will make sure that you're kind of going through things, I step in and make you classes, we'll call you in if you're not coming to advising sessions or things like that. No one's doing that in college. All right, so you're an adult. You can choose whether or not you want to go to class. You can choose whether you want to go see a counselor or an advisor or things like that. You can choose whether or not you want to have all your classes in the morning or at night. Lots of great opportunities, but a lot of pitfalls too. So the number one thing I see screw people up and sometimes cause a lot of stuff that make people want to drop out or not complete their college experience. But the other option is like it might extend your time. So that, remember I said that you do like in a transfer program or associate's degree, it's about 2 years. It's really not 2 years. It is a certain amount of units and classes that you need to accomplish. Okay, they should fit in about 2 years if you do everything right. All right, so that's where kind of this plan comes into play, and working with an academic advisor and your counselor at the college and that kind of stuff, who functions in many of the same ways I do. But you have to seek it out. You have to want it. All right, and so this is the number one thing that if you want some advice about junior college and how to make it function for you, work with the people that work there. ask questions. You got to be a self-advocate. Okay, and if you're not good at that right now, practice before you graduate. Okay, I'm happy to role play with you. I'm happy to help answer questions. Okay, but you got to start practicing asking for help and asking for the support. Okay, it makes college so much easier. But that orientation will help guide you through about who do you ask questions. You know, what kind of questions might you ask? How do we? When is finals? Like different things that are kind of pretty crucial to your experience. All right. But if you don't have a plan and you're going through, say, an associate's degree for transfer, and it says you got to complete X, Y, and Z, all these different classes, 60 units, and you don't, it could add an extra semester, an extra year. And a lot of classes has something called a prerequisite, meaning if you don't take Math 101, you can't take Math 102. So if you kind of are lazy or you didn't get on top of it, and maybe the class fills up and you don't get Math 101 your first semester of freshman year, it can set off a series of events that kind of pushes everything back. So this plan is super, super important. All right, so practice right now, please, please, please. And so that's something that you really need to kind of get on board on. Okay, placement. This is going to be math and English placement. Placement is a tricky word in junior college right now. You don't. There's a lot of different ways to place into certain math classes, and you're not necessarily going to be placed in remedial stuff. However, you might have support classes that you actually need to accomplish when you are doing that. All right, class planning. Some campuses make you do this. Other campuses make it a little bit more optional. Okay, this optional class planning piece, and if you click on these, you can explore more. For example, okay, you can kind of understand. But what you'll see is it's kind of confusing. A lot of information. So this is where I encourage you to ask for help. Okay, when you get to this process, don't just freeze me like I don't know what to do next. I'm just not going to do anything. All right, this class planning element is something that you have to kind of like. They're going to help. Make sure, and I'll show you some other places to find some of this information to kind of give you an idea. Register and pay for classes and pay for any fees. All right, so registering for classes happens at a certain time. A hint is that if you're going to be going to junior college after you graduate, you're actually going to be registering for classes before you even graduate from high school. All right, so that's kind of a scary thing too, is you got to be aware of that because that's an important element that you just got to understand. And a lot of this, basically most of the steps are going to happen before you graduate high school if you're going to be rolling in the first semester of kind of the year after you graduate. So same thing here over at Sierra College, and you'll find fairly similar stuff at most junior colleges. So definitely you want to kind of look for some of that process so you understand. Most campuses will also have a calendar that you can access. So if we go back to the homepage, you might be able to find that, see if we can look that up. So for example, a calendar. And what you'll find is like the academic calendar. So let's see. So for next year, academic calendar. You might be able to find like May of 2022, last day to drop. They might say information about enrollment, breaks, when school starts. So you might want to kind of start getting that, wrapping your head around that a little bit. So I'm going to show you SBCC because they provide some resources on here that I think are really great. I'll show you also where to find some of this information. So let's jump out of the logistics a little bit. Okay, so back into kind of like, so what do I need to study? What should I look at? All right, so like I said over here, when we click on this all degrees and certificates area on SBCC, what we can do is we can look at the programs to study over. You can read that. But if we click over here under programs to study, it's actually going to list. And it gives you two options. Alphabetical, which is great. But I would encourage, and if they give you the option, to look by program type. Okay, so if we click on that, what that's going to do is it's going to give us options. And Sierra College does it similarly, okay, where we can pick what, like I said, those program types. We can say, do we want a certificate? We can look at all the different certificates they offer. Drawing, drafting in CAD, graphic design, global leadership, finance, film and media. That means all these are certificate programs. We can see associate's degrees. All right. So if we wanted to look at an associate's degree, say in law and society, let's see what we got here. So here's kind of an idea, and we'll look at an associate's degree for transfer, but it gives us a good layout. Again, this can feel very overwhelming. Looking at this, when you're looking at college information, I'm going to show you this not because I want you to get overwhelmed by it, but just to give you an example of why you need to have people to help you. Okay, this looks kind of scary. Lots of information, right? So like course codes, information, units, whatever. Okay, pick one of the three classes. Lots of information. Let's just take a look at this. All right, so let me find it. So it's going to lay out, these are basically your A through Gs. All right, so if we kind of look at the different A through G breadth requirements, okay, like it shows you a lot of pages. Look at how far. Okay, kind of overwhelming, right? I'm scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Okay, and it's going to tell you like area A, English language. You need 9 semester units from each course sub area A1, A2, and A3. All right, so basically what they're saying is you need 1 class from each. But that probably would not be super clear to someone graduating high school. All right, lots of information, lots and lots and lots of stuff. Okay, so this is where it becomes very important for you to actually understand. All right, so what this degree is saying, to complete the associate's degree in law and society, you're going to need to do all the department items listed below with a C or better. All right, so these are the department ones. And again, you're not taking every single one. Make sure you're reading 3 of the classes from the following, for example. Okay, 1 of the following general education requirements. So you're going to pick one of these different paths. Okay, with a total degree of 60 units, a GPA of 2.0 or higher, and you must have taken 12 units, which is about 3 to 4 classes at SPCC. All right, a lot of information. You'll see this on most things. You can see some kind of general learning outcomes, and this is also the nice area. Some schools, it looks like this one doesn't. I'll see if I can find another one that does. So let's go back over here. Let's go up to an AA-T. So another AA-T. Let's try, let's see. Let's try political science. So again, overview kind of covers some information about the program. Very similarly, gives you some of the requirements. Okay, so you'll see a lot more stuff, right? They're going to have that AA-T is going to ask for a lot of different things than some of the other programs. So if we check this again, let me see. There was a PDF that I wanted to show you on this too, but they might have transitioned that into this page. Okay, so it's the same thing. All the department requirements, you have to do either the CSU UC patterns and so on and so forth. Similar learning outcomes. And then I want to find one. Let me go back and try to find one that has one of these programs to study for you. Let's see. Let's try. They might not post those anymore. Should be a bummer. Yep, looks like they may have taken those down. Those are super helpful. This would tell you like semester 1, take these 4 classes. Semester 2, take these 5 classes. Okay, so it sounds like they're going to push you to making that counseling appointment because it sounds like maybe it's not as straightforward. All right, so let's go back. So that's how we explore programs of study. We're over here by program type. That's basically what kind of things do we have on campus? What are the programs? So if you're looking at by program type, and you said, I do want to go to a program that does require a bachelor's degree, you're probably going to want to look underneath what programs do they offer here. And maybe they don't have a program that meets your needs. You might need to look at a different college. They don't have every college does not have every program under the sun. Okay, but you have to be a little creative sometimes. Sometimes you're maybe going to be, journalism and communication could have very similar crossover points. So you might want to look into kind of like also kind of down the road and look at what four-year colleges are what kind of transfer programs are these universities that you're going to go into taking students in that particular program from. All right, but it has some good stuff. Let's take a look at Sierra College here. So let's take a look at the academics. So we're up here under academics. All right, you can explore academic programs, and again, we're going to. I like to just look at all the programs. You can kind of filter it, but if you look at all studies, very similarly, you can filter it by the type of program. A couple different notes here. Okay, so they're going to say AA-T and AS-T. Remember, there's a difference. And so if you're only filtering for AA-T, you might miss out on some of the ones that are AS-T. So you have to kind of be a little bit make sure that you're checking what the filter is so you're not limiting options that are available to you. All right, so if we looked at computer science, it's going to lay out, here's the academic plan. So if we computer science for transfer AS-T, and they actually do break it down, kind of suggested by term. Okay. So that's a great opportunity. And you can actually look up these courses on the schedule and figure out what these classes are. All right, so it gives you a rough idea of here are the things that you must do to accomplish this program and be able to transfer. Okay, so it's a great opportunity to kind of do some exploration. You can also learn about studying abroad, different faculty. The catalog and class schedule is usually, so like if we're on Sierra College, you can actually look at the catalog. So that's going to be, let's see, let me find it. So general catalog, what that'll do is it gives you some details. So you can look at programs of study. Where are the classes? Academic department, course descriptions, for example. So if you want to click on that, you can go through and look at biomedical sciences and understand the different classes that you have to take. So again, this is all very overwhelming information. This is where you want to ask for help. You can access the same thing over here at Sierra College. Okay, if you go under here to class schedule, just under future students, it's going to have you go through and enter some stuff, and I'm happy to show you how to do this. So let's go back home. All right, so we talked about what degrees are there. How do we actually get in? So we kind of went through some of that stuff. You're probably not going to be transferring for the most part, and you're not a high school student or adult learner. Okay, so let's talk a little bit the finances as we kind of get close to wrapping up some of this information. So the finances for college. So how do we pay for college? So like I said, one of the biggest things that you're going to want to do as we're looking at going to any type of college, junior college, four-year university, trade schools, technical schools, even apprenticeship programs, okay, is do your FAFSA or your California Dream Act. Again, if you haven't done that, don't know what that is, I have a video on YouTube or on Facebook that you can go back from just a few weeks ago that talk about what the different programs are to help pay for college. Just some general tips about financial aid and some of the differences that you'll notice. Earlier I said it's cheaper most of the time, and that's true. Junior college will typically be cheaper for most students most of the time than, say, their four-year university counterparts. Okay, and so one of the things that makes it cheaper is the significantly reduced tuition costs. I think it's about $46 a unit or so, and that's like, so if you're paying for three, that's what, $120 something, $130 something for a class. Okay, for tuition costs. You got books and things like that, but generally speaking, your biggest cost, which is pretty universal whether you're going to junior college or four-year college, is living expenses. So if you want to know the cheapest way to go to college and get courses done and complete stuff, it's to go to junior college and live at home. Okay, that is bar none the cheapest way to get stuff done unless you get a full ride scholarship somewhere, which is very rare. All right, so where people kind of sometimes make the mistake financially with junior college is when you get the tuition paid for, which is still great, okay, but then you move somewhere that's very expensive. You say move to Santa Barbara. You're going to be paying the same rent and the same housing and living expenses, anywhere between $8,000 and $12,000 a year typically, depending on where you go and what your lifestyle looks like, okay, that will be a year, all right? And so that's something that you have to account for. So it potentially still could be cheaper and maybe the option you want to pursue anyways, but it won't be as cheap as, say, living at home. That's why there's 115, so that you can go somewhere that's close to home. Okay, I also realize that is not always the case and possible or desirable for many people. All right, so it's not always the type of thing where people graduate from high school and be like, yes, I want to live at home with my parents. Most people are like, I want to go out and be independent. Still awesome. Okay, you just have to know kind of what are your priorities, what are you willing to sacrifice potentially to save money, and maybe put money towards that. Say the last 2 years of, say, a four-year college, all right, that you might not have money saved up for. Okay, so it can be very very inexpensive if you do things right. The other thing that a lot of people don't think about is there's only a very small, and I'm talking like 4 or 5 maybe, junior college campuses that have dorms. All right, so like legit dorms on campus. Sierra College happens to be one of them. So Sierra College does have limited dorms down in Rockland, and they're very coveted and kind of first come, first served. But they do have, I want to say, maybe space for about 100 and 150 students or so down on their main campus. Okay, but most students live off campus. Many of the larger campuses have relatively close, kind of like student kind of oriented housing. So it's not necessarily dorms sponsored by the school or things like that, or upkept or kind of overseen by them, but it's usually more like apartments that are geared towards college students. And so it feels a little bit like a dorm. The downside is going to be it's a little less oversight, so you're going to have to be a lot more responsible. Okay, and you're going to have to figure out a lot of things on your own and kind of go through that process. So you definitely want to complete the financial aid opportunity. What you'll see, it's kind of grayed out here, but you're going to complete the FAFSA, the California Dream Act, and you definitely want to do that by March 2nd, okay, of your senior year. Because if you don't, you're going to be paying a lot more money, and you won't qualify for a lot of those California, the Promise programs. All right, so you definitely want to get on that. And again, I'm happy to help. Please ask. Okay, but that is a big component. There are scholarship applications, both for the school and as well as scholarships that we offer locally through our community that can actually go and go towards junior college applications. So please do apply for those as well. Scholarships are not just for four-year college. Okay, and they can offset the cost of a new computer or needing to, books for a semester or things like that. So things are, all those little expenses tend to add up. And so the more you save, the better. And just remember that financial aid is an every year type of thing. So it's something that you'll do every year, but it does get easier after the first year typically, because you're usually just going back and updating information versus having to type everything back in to either the FAFSA or the DREAM Act. Okay, so is junior college the right fit for every student? No. Is four-year college the right fit for every student? No. And the student who maybe have the 4.2 GPA would find great opportunities and perfect opportunities at the junior college, and a student who has a 3.0 GPA could easily find opportunities at a four-year college and acceptance to one. Okay, so it's really about where you're at in this individual journey and what might be available to you. Okay, and really kind of what types of the different kind of paths do you want to create. So kind of circling back, bigger picture. As a senior this year, when you're working through this process, like I said, I would encourage all seniors to have a plan and do some research into a junior college, even if you are intending on going to a four-year college, and that is something that you're wanting to do, okay? Because plans change, things change, different opportunities arise. Say you have your heart set on Berkeley, okay, a school that's difficult for many students to get into, even with great grades, and you don't get in. Maybe you decide, you know what, I really would like to go to Berkeley at some point, and it's worth me maybe waiting and not going somewhere else and working on going through the transfer program. That's totally fine. And maybe a great opportunity, like we said, it can increase your odds and competitiveness in that pool of applicants. So I do want you to think about this. The biggest thing that is hard about some of the junior college process is it's a little bit more vague. Okay, with 115 different campuses, you have a lot more different sources of information. A lot of it, like I said, is the same, but you'll find it in different places or presented differently on different websites. Okay, so what I would suggest you start with is, one, deciding like, yes, do I want to spend the time and research this? Like I said, I think you should, but you have to decide that for yourself. Don't do it just because I said so. The other thing is, like, most people tend to start about like, is there a place that I see myself living? All right, is there a place that I want to move to? Do I want to live at home? Because if you do, you're going to probably apply and look primarily at schools that are close by to wherever that is that you're thinking about going. Okay, if you're staying at home, most people are probably going to look at SBCC, or not SBCC, Sierra College, LTCC, and that's pretty much it if you're kind of living at home in this Tahoe, Truckee area. Okay, you're not generally going to be driving several hours to go to camp, go to class a couple times a week. All right, so you're probably going to be geographically limited. So you don't need to research also 115 different campuses. So you're going to look at that locally. And then looking at the different campuses, if there are several different options around, like up here looking at LTCC and Sierra. If you're moving to Santa Barbara, there's really only Santa Barbara. But if you're looking at like LA area, San Diego area, and kind of determining what part do I want to live in? Is there financial differences between living here versus here? Like, are there opportunity differences, program differences? So like doing some of that research now is probably the best first step. And then you choose, and then you work on applying. And really, it's not an application. Okay, I think they mislabel that. It's an enrollment form. You're submitting your information, and they're going to let you in. There are very few programs in particular community college campuses that are not open enrollment. Okay, there might be some additional steps, some like pre-nursing type programs or specialized like audio production or something like that might have additional steps that you might need to take with maybe limited slots. But generally speaking, you can go to junior college. Okay, so I just want you to think about that. Please ask me questions. Okay, for seniors and even juniors who might be watching this, this is something that when you get into your senior year, we'd love to help. Okay, but we also want to give you that independence and opportunity to step into your independence and grow. Okay, so it might be the type of thing, and I say this a lot, but I don't even need you to know what you need help with. I just need you to know that you need help. I can help you figure out what you need help with and where you're at. Okay, but I also want to give you that opportunity as someone who in 6 or 8 months, if you're a senior right now in kind of November, who's going to be walking onto a college campus and need to do some of that self-advocacy. I, again, want you to have that opportunity to practice. All right, so please do poke around. There's a lot of other information in here. So like if you went to the first time at college, you can click on all these red links and find out more information. You can read a lot more about the different programs. You can learn about the different financial aid and the SBCC Promise. That's that 2-year free program. Okay, so like you can understand a little bit more about what opportunities are available. You can also look at like housing. So like what does the housing market look like? Okay, finding housing, what's the neighborhood? And just really explore that campus feel as well. Okay. Looking at the chat, I don't see any questions right now. However, I do want to just reemphasize that we have a lot of resources, we have a lot of opportunities, and Sierra College over in Truckee is, like I said, our super partners. Christopher is happy to help. Please help us. I can help you make a connection. We can get you over there and you can take a tour of their campus. We're going to try to maybe put something together a little bit more formally later this year and maybe make a trip over to Truckee or Rockland or something like that and take some students too. Okay. So I know this is big picture and like I said, everybody's individual. So take some of this big picture information about how do I find a few things on campus? Where do I need to start looking? And just start investing some time and energy. Look for questions. Okay. Look for I don't understand what this means, but I think it's important. And then ask someone. You ask me, ask a parent or guardian, call the college and ask them, do a Google search. Okay. There's a lot of opportunities. And so the biggest thing I see people doing is kind of like the fight, flight, or freeze response. All right. They fight it saying I'm not going to do this. This is lame. I'm not going to college. They flight and they just run away and they don't do it, or they freeze and they find something that's kind of scary or unknown and they just don't move. They kind of just I got this far and I don't understand what to do next, so I'm just not going to do anything. Hopefully nobody notices. All those things cause a lot of problems, all right? So please don't get stuck in that. If you need some touch points or need some support, I'm happy to help, and please do ask. Okay, so I'm going to leave that for our day today. I hope that you got something new and hopefully interesting. Okay, but feel free to go back and rewind and watch this or anything else. But if you have other things that come up, remember we're doing our post-secondary plan meetings this fall. If you haven't had yours, please make sure you book those. We'll talk through a few of these things. And I'm happy to sit down individually with you, a parent, both of you, mainly talking to the students here and kind of working through some of this process. The biggest thing is kind of starting now. Don't wait. That kind of, like I said, January, February timeline when most people start taking active steps on that enrollment process, that'll sneak up on you. We're already in November. In 2 months, you might be needing to get ready to get started on this. So you want to spend the time doing some meaningful thought. All right. And I'm happy to help brainstorm and kind of be a sounding board to you there as well. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully you guys have a great afternoon. If you need anything else, please don't hesitate to reach out. Phone call, email, text, show up in my office, and we'll figure that out and help you guys through this process. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.